Are cities missing out on a secret tool for transformation and engagement? As a public artist who's transformed bridges and amphitheaters into immersive experiences and baseball stadiums into musical instruments, I've seen the impact on communities firsthand. And I've seen what the space is missing, and that is music-driven public art. So what do I mean by music-driven public art? Well, I simply mean projects designed and driven by live performing musicians or grounded in the exploration of the sounds of that space. So that could look like sampling sounds of a bridge, of a baseball stadium, of the sidewalk, people laughing or running or a bicycle, and transforming those sounds into projects that really illuminate and express the vibrancy of a community. It also can mean placing 100 musicians in a park. It could mean turning something that is usually not a musical instrument into an actual physical musical instrument. So here are 3 reasons why music-driven public art is really important. First, this type of work creates memories. Sound-driven art takes us to a space. We all remember that favorite song when you were in kindergarten or your first breakup song from when you were in high school, right? You hear it on the radio again and you immediately go back to that space. So I believe that infusing sound and music into these public art projects that are made for communities, projects that are made for cities, help create that solid memory, that moment that takes you back. So if you experience a public art project on the street, the next time you walk that street, you can be taken back to that moment of inspiration, of fun, of community, of joy. One of my favorite stories is that for Waking the Monster, the project at Fenway Park, turning it into a musical instrument. I met a photographer 2 years ago who said, I think about that project all the time, that experience, because the person I was with is now my wife. And they expressed that they love thinking about and talking about that specific date as a core memory in their relationship. That song, that piece of musical art can last beyond that performance and beyond that installation. So then families can go back, they can listen to the music, they can be taken back to that space, they can listen to it together. That music really engages with that crowd in ways far beyond that of which without sound. So reason number 2 is that music-driven public art is experienced together. When we're talking about infusing humans, live performing humans, or an auditory experience, it is meant to be created for large groups of people. So we're also bringing communities together, bringing people together to experience that moment, and they become just as much a part of the project as the actual art itself. So for example, when we transformed Boston's most iconic amphitheater into a sound and projection mapped canvas, the project really only existed when hundreds of people came out to the park, because what they did is they all streamed the music on their phone. So you would walk up and you would see the beautiful video, and then you could actually walk through the sound canvas. And it brought the music into this space that only existed because the humans were there, were engaging with it, were chatting, were telling stories. Additionally, these communities are seeing themselves in the music. When I'm writing music, or if I'm bringing people on to write music, we are very much inspired and very much connected with the cultural identities of that community. So we're constantly infusing that into the sound experience so communities can see, hear, and feel themselves in the work. So the last reason music-driven public art is so important is that it offers an opportunity for large teams to connect with those communities. And in the music space, we're very much used to listening and collaborating to create large bodies of sounds. If you think about an orchestra, it's 50 people on a stage creating for that moment in time. And for these music-driven pieces of public art, it's the same. It's a lot of performers, composers, technicians, producers, all performing for communities, but it's also that listening to the communities themselves and making sure that piece is really connected to and reflective of that community. So it's offering this connective tissue between the creation itself and the community it's for that I think is really special. And yes, these projects take time, they take resources, they take the right team. But I've seen this risk really benefit and pay off for both communities, for the artistic teams, for the commissioning body, because they last longer than that moment of production. People talk about it, they think about it, they reflect upon it. They send me messages of, oh, I just listened to that song again and I'm taken back to that moment. And I've seen that risk be so worth it, because the reward is a deep community connection. The reward is observing musicians, designers, and artists coming together to create something so spectacular that people talk about it for years and years to come. And if you're interested in seeing how MF Dynamics can transform your community with music-driven public art, click the link below to schedule a consultation. I'd love to work with you. Thanks for watching.